She did that for us. If you have your Bibles, turn over to Philippians chapter 1. Now I'm going to preach a sermon this morning that I could not preach in 43 years. I'd have been violating the law. Most of you, it would be a footnote in history that Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1952 got the Johnson H.R. 52 bill passed that prevented a preacher from ever saying anything that might be construed as political. So, since the time I was 3 years old, you have to be very careful what you say. I hadn't been. But as of last week, President Donald Trump signed an executive order that said I don't have to worry about it. I just preach whatever the Lord leads me without worrying about the government. Isn't that great? Amen. Isn't that great? So this morning I want to preach on a sermon that I'm going to call All Hands on Deck. Let me kind of set it up for you. Whether it's a 65-foot, 6-man, 2-torpedo PT boat, or whether it is an aircraft carrier over 3 football fields long at 1,106 feet with close to 7,000 men and women, there is a sound that when it's made, every single person from the 6-man crew to the 7,000-man crew and all ships in between drop what they're doing. Stop. When that horn is blown, followed by the veil, that horn is blown, followed by the veil, it's the sound of general quarters. It's the sound that everybody mans their weapons. It's a call to arms. And this morning I feel free of the Lord to preach a call to arms, saying that this ship of Zion, no matter how small it might be, and all the other ships, the churches of the Lord Savior Jesus Christ, no matter what their battle cry might be, whether it might be Church of Christ or Methodist or Presbyterian, whether it be one of many forms of Baptist, no matter what their sign, I believe that it is time for a call to arms. We are being besieged. Our country is under siege by enemies from the left, within the country, and from overseas. They hate Christian conservative ideas. They hate them. They attack. They hate our president, who was duly elected. They're doing everything they can to tear down our country. And most of us don't realize that by doing that, they are tearing down the very Christian values and principles that we stand for. We're under siege by little nations like North Korea, big nations like Russia, We're under siege by terrorist groups from Muslim countries trying to change our American culture. But lastly and most dangerously this morning, I want to tell you that we, in our spiritual houses of worship, have been given nerve gas that's more dangerous than mustard gas or sarin or ricin. It's a dose of apathy. It's a dose just thinking it's going to be okay. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. It ain't going to be okay. Here in the first chapter of the book of Philippians, the Apostle Paul writes the three separate positions that the ship of Zion or the church should have. It was the same for the church at Philippi as it is for us. So it is time that we quit singing Sweet Hour of Prayer and then maybe have 30 seconds to ask God's blessings upon a meal. It's time that we quit singing Onward Christian Soldiers when in churches we're having to try to draft somebody to do every task that must be done. I love the one, I must tell Jesus. And then we wear ourselves sick over every possible aspect of life. We sing showers of blessing and then talk about calling off church if it rains or thunders. I'm here to tell you that the Bible is filled with terms that are called to arms. 2 Corinthians 10:4, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal but mighty through God. 2 Timothy 2:3, you therefore in your hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. 1 Timothy 1:18, fight the good fight. Ephesians 6:11, therefore put on the whole armor of God. So this morning I'm calling for an honest Sunday where we fix the words to the song as they really are. And maybe for an invitation, God, we ought to have a little, just a little, I surrender to Jesus. Notice these three positions. Paul tells the church at Philippi, thus he tells all churches. In verses 5 and 6, he tells churches, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day till now. Nothing sweet than Wednesday night last when we just had fellowship. That's great. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Melissa. All the hours you put into that, and it was, man, we had over 70 people here. Just a great time of fellowship. There ought to be a time on every ship when there is great fellowship. Notice on down here in the verse, about verse 12, but I would that you understand, brethren, that the things which happened unto me have fallen out rather under the furtherance of the gospel. Now, in addition to having a wonderful fellowship, one with the other, in all kinds of different ways, water slides and fish fries and getting together for ice cream supper, wonderful thing. There ought to be a general idea that our purpose is the furtherance of the gospel. But then I want you to notice our text. I'll read 3 verses. Only let our conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else I be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that you stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and in nothing terrified by your adversaries, which is to them an evident token of perdition, but to you of salvation and that of God. For unto you it is given in the behalf of Christ, not only to believe on him, but also to suffer for his sake, having the same conflict which you saw in me, and now hear to be in me. So this morning I want to sound this sermon to general quarters. I want to make sure that you believe and understand that in this great sea of life that we are surrounded by all of those that would destroy virtually everything that we believe in. Our culture, our country, our community, everything that we were founded upon by our precious forefathers who came here for the very reason to have religious liberty is being attacked on every hand. Never worse in my 67 years than it is now. Each of us are writing a gospel in our own hearts, in our own lives, with our thoughts, with our actions, with what we do. And here the Apostle Paul says, in this conflict, as we call you to arms, not abandoning all of the fellowship that we enjoy as Christians together, not abandoning the cause of furthering the gospel, but at the same time, there are those times that we must sound general quarters and be called to our positions of honor. Never has that call been greater than it is today. I want to share with you three things that I see in this call to arms that the Apostle Paul gives. Notice verse 27. In verse 27, he mentions our conversation. We need a consistent, cohesive conversation. I regret that I have been a part of the great religious debates in years gone by. I will choose to never do that again. I don't care what water you were baptized in. I don't care if you were baptized. I don't care what label you have on your ship. I don't care where you come from. All of us must have a consistent, cohesive conversation. And that conversation, Paul said, must begin with striving forcefully in our own stations. This October I will celebrate 44 years that God called me to the station that I've occupied. He called me to preach and teach. That's my station. That's the missiles that I've been given by God to fire. You have been given whatever God chose for you to do, and I know He chose you to give your testimony, to give your witness. I know He chose you to strive forcefully to defend the faith no matter where you are. She had no idea I was going to preach the sermon today. I wasn't sure myself, but my daughter-in-law came in last night, I believe, and the first thing she did, hugged me, she always does, and then she said, "Tell them I got a funny story to tell you." And she told me about going to Arab to the Polk Salad Festival. Now, I thought my life was pretty boring. Polk Salad Festival. And her father, a great man, he's a Church of Christ elder. Don is a man that almost 80 years old, and he is still working, and he's retired from the military. He's the head of the Republican Party in Marshall County. He's appointed by the governor, and he was kidding with a lady, and she happened to be a Democrat, and Debbie walked up and said something to the effect of, "Well, I'm a conservative Republican." And she said, the woman did, "I hate Republicans." Well, my daughter-in-law, she's got this gift of joy. It gets on my nerves sometimes. So she joyfully said, put her hand on the woman's shoulder and said, "Well, when we get to heaven, it won't matter whether we're Democrats or Republicans." And the woman said, "I'm an atheist." My daughter-in-law said, "Have a nice day." What a magnificent example. That kind of enemy is within our ranks. Oftentimes, they're in our very circle of activity. And the Apostle Paul said that we must strive forcefully that we be in our station and defend. Now, when you're in your station, let me tell you something. The weapon is always aimed on the enemy that's approaching. You don't ever turn the guns inside the ship. You don't ever shoot shipmates, ever. You don't ever blow holes in the ship itself. Cohesive, constant conversation means emphasize what we agree on. Jesus is. It's the blood and righteousness of Jesus that we all agree upon. The only missile you have is the Word of God. Check Ephesians chapter 6. And you will discover that the only weapon God gave you is His Word. But He said that it's more powerful than a two-edged sword. Notice, Paul said in verse 27 that we should be standing fast in the Spirit. David Kelly's not here today. He just comes here often, and he's my boss. County commissioner. We had 3 county commissioners here at the fish, right? And Jesse Swords is commissioner of District 4. He's recently married, recently saved, and recently baptized. Recently. Within the last 6 months. R.E. Martin, who is commissioner of District 2, he was married for years to a homeless woman, and she died 30 years ago. And R.E.'s always been a non-practicing Baptist. There's a lot of those non-practicing Baptists. They were here, but David, who often is here, he asked me to go on a little trip last week about 3 o'clock, and when he got back to the shop from working with the men, he had forgotten because he didn't know where he had told me to go, and he jokingly said, "Well, I reckon he's abandoned his post, and I'll just have to ride him up." Imagine his surprise when he was reminded, you sent him on this mission. What's the point? Stand fast in your faith. The place where God positioned you is the place where God needs you. Whether it be a position of support to the church, or whether it be a position of leadership, stand fast. Notice the second thing Paul says. We not only need consistent, cohesive conversation, but notice what he says. We need continual mission cooperation. It's going to be impossible in any battle or any war if you can't agree on what the mission is. And we've got Christians running around everywhere trying to decide, well, what's our mission? What's our mission? I came out of the Southern Baptist for many years, and the Southern Baptists had numerous committees formed, and they were writing reports to me every day about our mission, what our mission is. And the mission was always changing. Listen, the mission can't be changed. The mission was given by Christ. In our Sunday school lesson, next week we'll study the beginning of the identification of the mission that Christ gave the church, which is simply go tell. Point the word toward those that need to hear the word. That is our mission. On a ship, when you're not at battle stations for real, because the enemy's close, you're always practicing. You're always getting drills. In the church, we need many drills. We need much training that we might be able to know what the mission is. On Wednesday night, we're studying the second part of the mission, and that is to grow in grace and in knowledge. Those are really the only two things that Christ has assigned us to do. Go gospelize the world by telling them the good news gospel and grow in grace and knowledge. God gave the church the simplest mission there's ever been. Never been a simpler mission. The smallest child can understand it. Stand together and go tell them about Jesus. Strive together and let them see Jesus in you. Stay together as a group and show them Jesus in the whole body of baptized believers. God gave us the simplest message, simplest mission, simplest message. We need to cooperate with one another and agree. That's our message. That's our mission. That's our message. That's what we're supposed to do. You know, let me go to a final point. I've seen probably every World War II movie that's ever been made about Pearl Harbor. Where on December the 7th, 1941, there was a sneak attack enshrined there in the waters of that bay. There are those in this congregation that have been there and seen the sunken Arizona in the shallow waters. In every one of those movies, it's an amazing thing. As the attack was being made, pilots were scrambling to get to the plane. Sailors were scrambling to get their ships out at sea and safety. Land troops were scrambling to find some sort of weapon to fend off the attack. What's the message? The message is when there is a call to arms and you take it seriously, there must be compelling courage. Compelling courage. Courage above and beyond. It took quite a while on December 7th as the Japanese dive bombers began to come in for everybody to get fully aware of what was happening. For the last several years now, we have watched dive bombers, and I'm going to name a few of the planes that I've seen up close, and to me there's no difference. I don't care whether you call them Mormons, Muslims, or morons. They all look the same to me. If the Bible is true, John chapter 14, verse 6 says, "No man cometh unto the Father except by me." If that be true, then anyone who preaches a different message is a moron. I am sick of the political correctness, the press corruptors, and the potty collaborators who try to tell me where I ought to go to the bathroom. I'm sick of it. They're the enemy. I'm tired of it. I'm so sick of words like diversity. It's fine with me if we have one of every color or 15 of every color in our church, but if you're here, we believe in Jesus Christ crucified and we don't diversify it. Amen. Diversity. It's fine with me, and I would love to have kids and we have international students in this little church. Praise the Lord. And Pietro has to go back very soon to the country of Italy, and I pray that as he goes back saying, "Hey, they're friends of you." I think that kind of diversity is wonderful. But we will not diversify our message. The message is Christ Jesus. Another word I'm so tired of hearing, and it will take compelling courage for us to be able to withstand this nonsense called dysfunctional. That was not a word when I was a kid. Dysfunctional. And now, anything that seems to be wrong, well, they're just dysfunctional. If they're lost, they need to be saved. They're not dysfunctional. They need to get saved. If they are doing that which is contrary to our laws and to our culture and to what we stand for, they're not dysfunctional. They need to assimilate. Here in this church, we believe that the blood of Jesus and the righteousness of Jesus is sufficient for us to be able one day to meet God Almighty. Stand before Him and be presented as one of the children of God, welcomed into the kingdom of God. It takes compelling courage. I am sure there are those who think our preacher is dysfunctional. I may be, but I don't have the message confused. But this morning I would ask you, as we sing the invitation, to please Except in your heart that this Bible calls for you to do two things, just two. Believe for salvation and accept there's going to be suffering. The most wicked thing Satan's ever done to the Christian gospel is to present the idea that if you really get with Jesus, that your life is going to be rosy. God deliver me from the Joel Osteen message. The apostles were afraid after Jesus rose that they were going to be crucified, slaughtered. Guess what? They were. But in spite of that, we need compelling courage. Compelling courage. To stand in the face of the enemy and to say Jesus is Lord. So I want to ask you during the invitation first, have you declared that Jesus is Lord in your heart and in your life? Are you prepared to meet the Savior? Secondly, I would ask you, if you're certain that you are saved and that you have invited Christ into your life, have you been obedient and followed Him? There are many steps you can follow. You can follow Him into believer's baptism. What a great step. Preacher, I thought it didn't matter. It doesn't to me, but it will to you. You can follow Him into being a witness for the Word, in being a family of fellowship, being on a ship. This is a good one. I've been privileged to skipper the ship for almost 20 years. But finally, I want to ask you to dedicate yourself to compelling courage. That my message will be cohesive. That I will have compelling courage to not deviate from the mission, but rather I will stand fast in the faith of the Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Heads down. I pray. Father, at the beginning of this message, you compelled me, led of the Holy Spirit, to sound general quarters. To say, Heavenly Father, to our church and to our fellowship mates that it's time that we had that cohesive conversation with people in the community. That it's time that we understood the mission you gave us, that we strive together to win lost people to Jesus Christ. And that, Lord, it's time to have compelling courage to stand in the face of the enemy and declare that Jesus is Lord. Lord, I first pray for that person or persons who's here and never accepted Christ. Lord, I pray they'll come when we sing this invitation. And then, Lord, I pray for those who have not been obedient in baptism or in fellowship of the church. Maybe they haven't been surrendered to their call. And then, Lord, I just pray that we as Christian brothers and sisters who seem to enjoy one another's fellowship, we be dedicated to the furtherance of the gospel. And that, Lord, we'll be good soldiers during this time of great spiritual battle. And Lord, I pray that in Jesus'